On June 24, 1948, in a tragic attempt to take control of Germany and drive the Western powers' influence out of the country, the Soviet Union blocked all land routes and entrances into the west of its capital city, which was controlled by America, France, and Britain. By doing so, the Soviets hoped to forcefully make West Berlin surrender by preventing necessities from entering the city. In response to this movement, President Harry S. Truman ordered a massive airlift of supplies into the besieged city. The Berlin Airlift, also known as Operation Vittles or Operation Planfair, was extremely triumphant. Due to the hardships, challenges, and utmost detail and planning required in order to succeed, the airlift triumphantly supported the Berliners for approximately 15 months and demonstrated the power of human spirit, unity, and perseverance. However, it brought about a heartbreaking aftermath, creating a tarnished reputation for the Soviet Union, breaking political relations that still affect us to this day, and marking the start of a tragic, hostile rivalry known as the Cold War. This vision split between the two sides of Germany and the push for economic control of the country led the Soviets to block all land routes to West Berlin. After the end of World War II in 1945, Germany and its capital were broken into four regions controlled by the major powers of the time: France, Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union. The division was due to contradicting ideas for the future, seeing as the three powers, France, Britain, and the US, occupying West Germany believed in a free and democratic world order led by the United States, but the Soviets in the East envisioned a communist dictatorship under the control of the Soviet Union. Nowhere were these conflicting goals more evident than in the capital city, Berlin, where the West is controlled by the Western powers and the East is under Soviet rule. This tragical difference in visions for the future of Germany also marked the start of rising tensions and bitterness between the Western powers and the Soviet Union.
Mother was very upset. She said, "Now we'll have nothing to eat. We've been blockaded." I didn't know what blockade meant, but they used that word right from the start.
Moreover, due to tragic bombings from the previous war, many industries of Western Europe were in ruin, demolishing their economy. Many needed aid, and German currency was so low that a loaf of bread usually costed a whole paycheck. The Western powers wanted to help and started the triumphant Marshall Plan, a $12 billion economic aid to Western Europe. The West also anticipated reforming Berlin currency in order to gain economic control over the city. This infuriated Stalin, the dictator of the Soviet Union, so he decided to cut off all land access into Berlin, and this tragic event is known to historians as though West Berlin belonged to the Western Allies, it lay deep in Soviet-controlled land. Another reason for this tragic blockade was to force the West Berliners into surrender, giving Stalin complete control of Berlin. Start quote, "What happens to Berlin happens to Germany. What happens to Germany happens to Europe." End quote. Soviet Foreign Minister Vyacheslav Molotov. In response, Truman, the President of the United States at the time, called for a triumphant airlift to supply the West Berliners with replenishments. The airlift needed to transport 4,000 tons of supplies, but the lack of planes and aircrew only brought in 1,000 tons. Alerted by the news, mechanics didn't even wait to be called up. Right away, they hitched a flight to Berlin to help with maintenance. According to Norman DeVoe, a veteran that served in the Air Force, they didn't even hesitate to sign up to help deliver coal and other necessities into West Berlin. On August 12th, the Western powers triumphantly reached their goal for the first time, delivering approximately 4,500 tons of supplies. This was made possible by people uniting together and lending a hand towards the cause. The extra help would have never shown up, and the airlift would have never reached its goal without the people's urge to help.
Logistical effort to make it possible. To have so many planes coming in so short intervals. They had to build an entirely new runway in Berlin very quickly to accommodate the planes. It was also very important for the Berliners to organize themselves because although the planes brought in, of course, a lot of food and all kinds of products, it was not enough to keep the city really afloat. So people had to go to accept that lots of things they could not get. They had just to wait for those planes to come in.
The triumph of the airlift also depended on the West Berliners' strong desire for freedom from Soviet control, pushing them to persevere through hardships. This was seen when the Soviets had offered the West Berliners food, but knowing that accepting the food meant submitting to the Soviets, the Berliners declined, for their longing of freedom overrode their hunger. This also allowed the airlift to continue supporting the trapped Berliners triumphing over Soviet dictatorship. Secondly, the airlift's shortcoming in the beginning didn't stop the Air Force. They persevered and in the end ended up delivering more to Berlin by air than they ever delivered by rail at any given day. Ultimately, this proves that the perseverance brings out triumph, as demonstrated in the airlift. Furthermore, Operation Little Vittles was started by Gail Halverson, a man driven by sympathy for others. He realized how long the Berlin children went without sweets, so he made it his personal mission to drop candy. He was named Candy Bomber or Uncle Wiggly Wings because he would wiggle his wings up and down to signal that it was him. His spirit brought happiness and joy to many Berlin children, and his name will be forever imprinted in their memories.
Each of the larger planes carried 9 tons.
We could unload each plane in roughly 7 minutes. That was 9 short tons of coal.
We can live without everything we want to eat if someday we have our freedom. 8 to 14 years old, these kids were telling me, American, what freedom meant. I couldn't believe it. Little voice said, boy, these kids are unusual. How come? Well, they know freedom's more important than flour.
In the end, the West triumphed over the Soviet Union, for the Soviets finally saw that they could not squeeze Berlin into submission. As a result, the blockade was lifted. On May 12, 1949, the Soviets relented, and the airlift went on for 4 more months to create a surplus, just in case the Soviets decided to continue the blockade again. For the Soviet Union, the blockade became a tragic diplomatic embarrassment, and the Soviets looked like bullies for starving people into submission. This demonstrates the tragic impact of the Soviets' action on its reputation. Due to the United States' effort to foil the Soviets' plan of getting control over West Berlin, this tragic operation made the Soviets and the U.S. develop tense animosities. The U.S. was shocked by the blockade as well, and some even wanted to call for a military response. These broken relations included ideological, economical, and political factors, which soon intensified and caused great rivalry between the West and the East. The hate for each other's actions started a 44-year war of ideas known as the Cold War. The tragic isolation the West Berliners experienced back in the day is still occurring today. North Koreans today are getting blockaded from the world to limit their interaction with the globe. Activists are currently trying to fly in media, food, and medicine into North Korea. Drones carry articles to expose them to information regarding countries outside their own and the better living conditions in the other parts of the world. Similarly to the triumphant Berlin Airlift, these unauthorized drops enraged the North Korean dictator, Kim Jong-un, and broke relations between North Korea and the rest of the world. Koreans are tragically made to believe that they have freedom inside their state, but they do not know what true freedom is or even looks like. To the rest of the world, North Korea is an international threat to peace and security. The ideals that were learned in the Berlin Airlift can still affect the present world, and the human spirit shown during the event still resonate in the hearts of other people.
제일 안 좋아하는 게 뭡니까? 약점이. 북한점이들이 깨우치는 거예요.
The bravery of these heroic people proves that through the toughest situations, with unity, perseverance, and a drive to stand up for a common cause, that the triumph of the airlift. On the other hand, the Soviets' actions brought them consequences that demolished their repute and other relationships with the world. These tragic events would intensify and bring about another war, but this time a war of political ideas.
But even amidst the bleak Berlin winter, the airlift continued to bring people together in unexpected ways.